And it's about to scale credible green investment. It's about scaling out what we can know has good green impact, because that is not that easy right now. We tend to be confined to Northern Europe when it comes to doing green investment that we are sure have a green impact. So the green assets was much about having a cost-efficient and immutable, because blockchains are immutable. You can't back away from your signed statements. Green impact verification. We want to use the signed statements to verify that something is indeed green. So in the green assets wallet, different parties interact to build up a statement of fact. The statement of fact being that something is a valid green investment, has a valid green impact. And the way you do that is on the blockchain, you add more and more statements until you believe something to be true. So for green assets wallet, it could be engineers signing off on stuff. It is satellite images vouching, for example, for that there is enough solar panels as compared to what they have claimed to have. And by doing this, by combining signed statements from different sources, from people, from organizations, from sensors that automatically digitally sign what they measure, we can get up to a higher level of confidence, and in that way expand what can credibly be seen as a green asset that we can invest in the world outside of Northern Europe. So it can be signatures, it can be claims, but something on blockchain called oracles. Sensors, scales, gas sensors, cameras, photos, satellite images, any kind of machine perception that can be entered into the blockchain, signed already in the device. We can have certificate chains like mobile bank ID or different kinds of ID chains that we can verify the identity of the signer of something. We can have counter signatures, counter signing. One common case in law in Sweden is if you have a will, it needs to be, you need to have two witnesses sign it. In the future, maybe when you can digitally sign over the ownership of your house, maybe there should be some kind of stipulation that other people must vouch for them. That you need to call up your friend and say, hey, does this guy really want to sell his house, or has his private key been stolen, right? A web of trust, which is a more distributed system than the digital IDs we're used to, but there are many pioneering efforts in this field, for example, on Ethereum. And PGP is the nestor of this, where they're trying to build up. It's not used very much by ordinary people, so to speak, but it's heavily used in Linux distributions such as Debian and stuff like that to verify that some code should be trusted and be integrated. Court proven to be legally binding. We want courts as much as possible to rule on the digital statements that are on the blockchain so that we can see. Because as soon as we get outside of digital money, every blockchain is actually connected to reality outside. And that reality must be tried by the court system. On Bitcoin, we don't need to do that because it just talks about itself. It has no links to anything outside of itself. But for anything else we need to do, we need to have the courts actually on our side to rule on the veracity of the statements on the blockchain. And we believe that blockchains can increase trust in society as a whole. So I want to talk to you today about filter bubbles, that people think they are more powerful than they are, and the group they're in is more in the right than any other group on the internet. And I think we need blockchains to try to pull things together again, to convene on the truth. So Green Assets Wallet is about green bonds, signed statements, third-party verification. There is a common framework being developed on Biolabs, an infrastructure for green bonds, and here we have participants in the project and running on Chromaway's Chromia blockchain, which is our blockchain. So Chromaway, the company I'm from, we're the creator of Chromia, the platform. We're a tech platform company. Other projects we've done, we did the land registry project, the Swedish land registry project, where I was the technical project lead. We've done land registries in other parts of the world. We're working a bit right now in Latin America on that. We did arguably the first stable coin online back in 2000. Actually, it was online, but in a pilot project. Funderbeam, one of our partners, went live with assets transfers in Estonia in July 15, 2016. And of course the Green Assets Wallet. So, what are the truly functioning blockchain ecosystems in the world? Because we hear a lot about projects, and I would argue that it's Bitcoin. Bitcoin is also, of course, the blockchain that everyone is inspired by. And just for the purpose of this presentation, what is Bitcoin? Well, the use case is money. It has an idealistic bent. It's strongly opinionated. And its opinion is fixed monetary policy. There is a fixed money supply in Bitcoin. They don't like this idea with bailouts and quantitative easing and negative interest rates. We know this because the creator of Bitcoin signed a hash from the London Times about the bank bailout in the first block line of the Bitcoin network. More than that is hard to know. But whether you agree with this idealism or not, there seems to be a kind of idealism pushing that project forward. And that idealism can be verified on the blockchain. You can verify that the money supply will not grow over 21 million bitcoins. So do blockchains need idealism? Well, we don't know, but it certainly helps when we're talking about the willingness to disrupt. Because we talk with a lot of companies and organizations, and they vary from, yeah, let's go out there and just disrupt, to the more defensive, we're really happy with everything we have, why do we need a blockchain? And then you have almost to inject a fear factor and say you will be disintermediated if you're happy now with everything, because things are going to change. But if we believe idealism is a driving factor, that the green cause is actually one that's fairly strong. A lot of people around the world are willing to work in that direction, even make sacrifices to push the green cause forward. So it has enough people and power behind it, we believe, and that's why we believe the Green Assets Wallet is a very good case for blockchain technology. Because with blockchain technology, it's easier for the green idealism to be verified. Do we actually have a green bank? So Chromia, the underlying system, is a global blockchain ecosystem. We did what can be called a pre-ICO last year in the summer. We got somewhere upwards of $10 million, I think, in investments. And we got that on a white paper written by our CTO, Alex Mizrahi, about the global system we want to create, which has the name of Chromia. We have a token called Chroma that can be traded in different, mainly currently Asian exchanges. And our motto is power to the people. And in a way, we're actually a direct competitor to Ethereum. Power to the people. We want people to be in charge, what they care about, and not intermediate too much by complicating incentives. We want the blockchain to be the connection where you can verify that the things you believe in, the things you want, are actually executed. So we want quality and executional results for a greener environment. We're going into gaming. One of the reasons for that is, and that's the problem I believe also with decentralized finance, regulation. So many of the regulatory frameworks are not made for blockchains. For example, such a simple thing as the right to be forgotten. So we're going into games, and harder money is maybe handled by Bitcoin. We'll see how that works out. So we have an infrastructure for blockchain applications to develop applications, deploy application with an infrastructure supply. And you can go to Chromia.com if you want to check this out. We have an IDE. We have two IDEs, one cloud-based and one written in Eclipse. And we have possibility to deploy nodes which you can try out. So one of the new things with Chromia compared to other blockchains is that every dApp gets its own blockchain. So there's a one-to-one mapping between a dApp and its blockchain. That means you can have pretty much unlimited bandwidth. You can make up your own consensus rules or whatever you want to do with that blockchain. Those are then checkpointed into the Chromia main blockchain. So it's a kind of a sharding, but it's not sharding based on some kind of random hash distribution, but it's actually sharded on what needs to be together, which is the dApp itself. And then finally we checkpoint into a proof-of-work blockchain as Bitcoin, and I think Ethereum is still proof-of-work, and we'll see when they switch over, if they switch over. And another cool thing we think with Chromia is that we actually have a relational database at heart. So many other blockchains have some kind of key value store, like level DB in Bitcoin's case. But by having relational databases at the bottom, it's easier to integrate banking with finance, with any kind of enterprise, because all enterprises, basically everything in the world, runs on relational blockchains today. So we actually do that as well, which means you can make very powerful queries and selects and stuff like that to get stuff done. So, Green Assets Wallet, models for estimating green impact, science sector on the project. Another project that we haven't come that far with yet, but I would just like to mention it because it has to do with science statements and finance. It's a project in Nigeria by Ion Sigma, which is a Finnish company. They actually hand out feature phones to poor people, and with these phones, people get like a physical token that they can use to build up their credit history, which means they can get integrated into the financial system. So I just wanted to mention that. So, how do you integrate blockchain in business? Well, the more boring cases is improve present business processes, cheaper, faster. Slightly more interesting is merge business interests with competitors, like banks going for know your customer. No bank is bragging about we have the best KYC continuous in the world. That's not what the customer cares about, so why not pool it together and you can provide. The more interesting thing is to disintermediate and outcompete with new solutions, and that's what we think is exciting with the Green Assets Wallet. Do completely new things. So more radical, high potential use cases. So one thing we think is important is to give money and tokens to the users, and users monetize the system, instead of the other way around, as it is with Facebook and Google, where we are the product, we don't have the money, we're being monetized. And that puts us in a kind of a bad space. And what's cool with the Green Assets Wallet is that it creates new trust. It takes an existing concept of green bonds, which is available here in Northern Europe, and by using the trust mechanism and the different ways of integrating different kinds of signatures on the blockchain, extending that trust to larger parts of the world. So we're basically increasing trust in the world with the Green Assets Wallet, hopefully. So, here are some messages. This is actually from the Swedish Blockchain and Land Registry project, which I'm the technical project lead on. And this is just to see what actually stored in the blockchain in that case. So, this is the negotiation, the business workflow, the side business workflow, in order to go through the transfer of the ownership of the property. And this is the actual language used for that. This is a language called Esplit, Esplang, I should say, in the Esplits. And this is a way you can use the blockchain to actually get business workflows through and extend the trust in the world. Something that seems to be very much needed now, I think, because it seems to me, even how much I like the internet, that it almost creates distrust right now. So I hope blockchain, from you, from us, from Five Labs and everyone, will halt that and reverse that development into building higher trust between people. Thank you.